Welcome into this week's edition of the Mason and Zane Show alongside Richard Zane, Mitch Mason, back with you. And I've gotten some tests out of the way. I'm feeling pretty good. I only have one final.
Yeah, finally back because I had to do the entire show by myself last week while you were, quote, at the doctor's office.
Oh,
whatever.
That was unfortunate.
And don't even brag about only having one final.
This semester's been super weird. Between bouncing in and out of like weird doctor's visits and having food poisoning.
You had food poisoning?
I did. I had food poisoning last weekend. Was absolutely throwing up all day Friday. It's been a weird semester, but I'm back. We've been talking baseball
Guess who's
again.
Back again.
Oh gosh.
Mitch is back. Tell a friend.
We'll go ahead and move on. Aggies took care of business last weekend against Tennessee. They didn't get the sweep. They did lose a Sunday just marathon of a game.
14 innings.
Yeah, it was a little disappointing. The Aggies squandered numerous opportunities to win that game in extras, but overall we did what we needed to do. We talked about 2 weeks ago how going into the next 2 weekends against Alabama and Tennessee,
the bottom feeders,
we needed to go at least 5-1. We do go 5-1. Standouts for me personally, since you haven't heard me talk in a while, pitching has been huge. The Aggies have done a really good job either keeping men off base or keeping teams from scoring runs. We haven't been walking a lot of guys. We've really been capitalizing just on solid pitching all the way around, from Brigham Hill looking like his old self to Corbin Martin turned in a really nice start over the weekend, 8 innings pitched. That was nice to see. The downside, as we were talking about a little bit earlier, the Aggies' offense tends to go super stagnant sometimes, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, it definitely tends to go MIA. It's gone MIA for the past couple weeks, honestly.
Yeah.
They won a 2-1 ball game, a 3-1 ball game, and then lost a 5-3 ball game. They only scored 8 runs all weekend. And people want to say that pitching's the issue. Pitching is definitely not the issue with this team. There's actually a thread on Texas that popped up last week after the Aggies lost that Sunday game, bashing Rob Childress and his inability to be a pitching guru and whatnot. And this poster just got absolutely pooped on with his response. He was upset because we lost the game to Tennessee. Guys, this isn't football. You can lose to a bottom feeder just 1 out of 3 games and you're still good. As long as you win your series, you're all right.
Yeah.
So pitching is not the issue, and Rob Childress is in charge of the pitching. As far as the offense goes, that's Will Bolt and Justin Seeley's department, and their guys just have not gotten it done, whether it's leaving men on base all over the place, the absence of timely hitting. Mm-hmm. Nobody on the team is a real power threat. Mm-hmm. Only Braden Shoemake seems to be able to pick up RBIs. You've had bats come around, like Chorby's been better recently, Yancha's been better recently, Bedford's been really good, but at the same time you've got guys like Foster and Coleman and just Davis
aren't hitting
and
at all.
Pennington who just aren't getting the job done. And if this team's going to continue taking this run like I think they will at the SEC West, and like trying to come back from the dead and resurrecting the season and whatnot, I think that those guys are definitely going to have to start producing. And the senior leadership, the big three we want to talk about, Homan, Davis, and Pennington, those guys are definitely going to have to start hitting.
Yeah, especially Davis and Pennington. I mean, Homan, you can only expect so much from him. He is a shortstop. He's never really been a big power bat, although last year, obviously had that huge streak where he was hitting above 350 for a long time. We thought that was kind of an apparition, and indeed it was. It hasn't translated to this year at all. But going back to that Sunday game where we lost, you look at the pitching staff. I mean, 3 runs through 13 innings. Yes, you gave up the 2 in the top of the 14th, but
and only one of those 2 were earned.
Right.
There was an error.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's not the pitching staff losing the ballgame. Yes, it's easy to point fingers and say, oh, the pitching staff couldn't go as long as we needed them to. You don't expect a pitching staff to go 14 innings, allowing 3 or less runnings.
In the third game of the weekend,
exactly.
Too, by the way. They've already had 2 more games where the bullpen's been used.
Exactly. You're not fresh off of, a weekday home game against some, schleb team. This was at the end of an This was the end of a weekend series. Although the bullpen wasn't used strenuously in the first two games, they're still not super, super fresh. But where we lost that game was honestly in the bottom of the seventh when we had the bases loaded and nobody out. We couldn't get a run home, couldn't strengthen that lead.
I was just about to point that out. That's
go ahead.
That can't happen.
Yeah.
It cannot happen. You know, even teams in the bottom that are bottom feeders like Tennessee, they have the ability to beat you if you don't take care of your opportunities. Yeah. Just ask Florida. Florida lost a series at home to the same Tennessee team because they couldn't put them away. Yeah. And Tennessee did the same thing to the Aggies on Sunday.
Yeah.
If you don't take care of your opportunities and you leave men on base all over the place, you're not gonna win ball games.
Yeah, plain and simple.
You know, it's the contrast between Friday in the 9th inning and then Sunday in the 7th inning is huge. Mm-hmm. The Aggies loaded the bases with one out, and then George Johnson had a base hit, the timely hit that won the game. On Sunday, that just wasn't there.
Yeah,
absolutely. You need a base hit. Hell, you need a sacrifice fly. You just need something.
You need something, yeah.
And I'd be willing to bet if I go back to look at the box score in the 7th inning, I'd see a couple strikeouts.
Yeah, strikeouts continue to be an issue for this ball club for sure. And you know, it's not just the young guys; it's the older guys like Davis and Homan that are just not getting it done at the plate, and it's disappointing to see. And I think it's going to ultimately hamper us as we go through, you know, the SEC tournament and then into the big dance. You know, I still think we're going to be a 3 seed probably at best, unless we go on an absolute tear. But,
2 strikeouts.
Yeah, Davis and Yoncha. There you go. So can't have it happen. It is inexcusable, but at the same time, you know, we are bashing them a lot for an extra innings loss, and you know, not to take away from the fact that
it's a good team. This is a very good team. It's a team that's come a long way from that opening week in the SEC sweep at home against Kentucky.
Yeah,
they're right in the thick of things for the SEC West.
Yep.
You know, a lot of people think I'm crazy for thinking that if they win their last 4 series, that they have a legitimate shot at winning the division, but they do.
They do. Yeah,
they really do, and it's a team that is honestly very good. They just have to improve in taking care of the opportunities offensively, getting hits, and just driving in runs.
Yeah,
you can't have one guy with 45 RBIs. You got to have other guys with 20 or 30 RBIs to get the thing done. There's got to be more than one offensive producer in this lineup.
Absolutely.
But yeah, anyways, Friday they won that matinee game on Muster 2-1. It was actually kind of cool. Got out of class on Friday, went to a ball game, got home, drove to Austin, made it to Austin in time for Muster there. That was actually really cool. Did I tell you about that?
Mm-mm.
So I left College Station at around 5:45, got into Austin at 7:15, and the Capital City A&M Club was having their muster at the Capitol building.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I got there right in time for roll call, and it was pretty cool. It's actually pretty big. There's like 200 people there.
Really? So. That's really cool.
Anyways, Aggies won on muster thanks to a George Yoncha walk-off base hit with the bases loaded in the bottom of the 9th. Yep. Can't overlook Brigham Hill and Hunter Martin, the 2 starting pitchers in that game. Both went deep. Martin ended up throwing a complete game, 8 1/3, got the loss. Anyways, Hill looked good. Kilkenny blew a save, but got the win. It happens.
It does.
Gave up a run in the 8th, but George Johnson made up for it in the 9th, and the Aggies got the win to open up the series. Sunday, Aggies again in another pitcher's duel, won 3-1. Corbin Martin versus Garrett Stallings. Martin went 8 innings, only gave up 1 run. Stallings went 7, gave up 3, but only 2 were earned. The Aggies only struck out 3 times in the entire ballgame.
Gigs.
That is
keep doing that.
Huge, and Braden Shoemake had another RBI. So what's new? And then we just talked about it. Sunday, the Aggies lost 3-5 in 14 innings. We won't dive too far into it. Interesting to note, Braden Shoemake did have another RBI. That was 3 on the weekend, and Tennessee ended up outlasting the Aggies in 14. So
yeah,
it happens. To round out the week, Tuesday, A&M Corpus Christi came to town. The Islanders they got on the board early, took the lead 1-0, but A&M answered back with 3 in the second. Nick Chorby had a 2 RBI double in the second. The Aggies did not look back. They end up winning the game 5-2. Good thing to note, Kaylor Chafin and Hasten Sherrod worked 5 combined scoreless innings. That's another thing we need to talk about is the bullpen has come a long way from the beginning of the year and that weekend in Houston that we want to forget.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we've bashed them a lot for, the weekend that was, and really the beginning of conference play too. The bullpen just could not lock anything down. And, like you said, they've come a long way. They're getting outs when they need to be. They're being clutch. We're not walking a lot of guys, which is absolutely huge. Earlier in the season when our bullpen got into a lot of trouble, as for any baseball team, it's usually accredited to walks. And I think a large part of the reason that our bullpen is continued to improve is we're just throwing more strikes.
Yeah, Kason Sherrod, definitely a guy that needs to be highlighted here. After that weekend, he just couldn't throw strikes in that game against TCU.
Mm-hmm.
He's come such a long way. He's dropped his ERA all the way below 3 at 2.86. That's awesome considering it was in the 6 range, a few weekends in.
Mm-hmm.
And he's really a guy that even though he lost his his closer role to Mitchell Kilkenny, who's been phenomenal, by the way, just blew his first save this weekend.
Yep.
Sherrod, even though he's lost that role, has just been great out of the bullpen.
Sure.
I mean, he's got less pressure on him, I feel like, and he's just been getting outs, throwing strikes, and getting the job done. And if you're Rob Childress, you can't really ask for much more.
No, not at all.
Pretty good job. I think the bullpen's been real good. But anyways, SEC last weekend, Bama traveled to face the number 15 Mississippi State Bulldogs. Mississippi State swept them. They needed 13 innings in Game 2 of a doubleheader on Friday to get the win over the Crimson Tide, but nonetheless, Mississippi State wins and hangs on to the top spot in the SEC West. They will be here next weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Huge series, big-time implications as far as the conference championship and conference tournament goes. We'll talk about that next week, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Another big series inside the SEC, but this time in the West. Number 24 South Carolina traveled to Gainesville to face Florida. They split the first 2, but Florida was able to salvage the rubber match, took the series, and South Carolina, a team that started the year in the top 5. Where were they? Were they 2 at one point?
I don't know if they were that high. They were top 5. I don't remember where they started exactly.
But anyways, they were at least top 5 to begin the year, early on in the year, now unranked.
Yeah.
What's going on in Columbia?
You look at their roster, statistically, when you look at their pitchers, especially on paper, their staff, they have maybe the most talented starting staff outside of LSU and Vanderbilt in the SEC. 3 guys that will get drafted eventually, that will contribute to major league franchises. And for whatever reason, they haven't played well at home. They haven't been clutch in winning rubber matches of series. It's just not come together for South Carolina this year. And I was watching one of their ball games I think last weekend, and they were talking about it on TV how if this South Carolina team can put it together, they're dangerous. They can make a run, but at the same time you got to wonder, are they going to put it together? I mean, some teams just don't put it together.
They definitely need to start putting it together soon, or else they might miss out on the tournament.
Yeah,
completely.
Exactly.
They're in trouble. Big time series, the biggest series of the weekend. Number 9 LSU traveling to Lexington to face the number 10 Kentucky Wildcats. They did exactly what we're doing this weekend. They played a Friday doubleheader, took Saturday off, played on Sunday because there was weather moving through Lexington. They started 4th?
Yeah.
Dang. Anyways, what was I saying? So that series, 2 on Friday, 1 on Sunday. They split the doubleheader on Friday, and then Kentucky wins 10-2 on Sunday, wins yet another series. I don't know what's going on in
Kentucky's
Lexington.
offense.
I can't figure it out. They're really good. They should be a national seed. Obviously, they're going to host a regional. They should win the division. They're probably going to be the 1 seed in the SEC tournament. I can't say enough about what Kentucky's done this year. We thought in week 1 of the SEC that what they did to us was a fluke, and they have proved that it is no fluke, and they have earned a top 10 ranking.
Yeah, I mean, it's been really, really interesting to watch this team just simply outslug other clubs. I was last year during a radio interview, I think it was Mike and Mike was interviewing one of the Kentucky beat writers. And they asked him why, with all their money and all their talent that they bring in for basketball programs, why they can't recruit for other sports teams. And the beat writer just said, you can't dribble any other type of ball. You can't dribble a football. You can't dribble a baseball. Apparently, Kentucky's figured out a way to dribble a baseball because they've got some talent. They're hitting the baseball very, very well.
It's scary.
They're kind of the Cinderella story of this team.
Who was the guy that hit the ball over the net at Olsen? Who is that?
Oh, I don't remember.
Yeah, anyways, monster power.
Yeah.
Just disgusting kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But anyways, moving on. Another game inside the SEC East since we just talked about Kentucky. Vanderbilt at Georgia. Vandy won first game on Friday. They played a doubleheader on Saturday, and Georgia opened up the doubleheader with a 1-0 victory. But then Vandy just took the rubber match in the second game of the doubleheader, won the series. Huge for Tim Corbin and company.
Sure.
They're another team that needs to get it going.
Yeah, I mean, they're exactly. You keep wondering when Tim Corbin's going to kind of return to his old self and when the team is going to start acting like a Vanderbilt Commodores team. You know, their baseball program is to that school what Alabama's football is to them, and to see their team outside the top 10, just really struggling even to be ranked at this point. It's got to be really, really confusing there in Nashville.
Then a series that impacts the Aggies bigly. Bigly. Yeah, you know where I'm coming from. Impacts the Aggies pretty big last weekend. Number 14, Arkansas, traveling to the Plains to face the number 11 Auburn Tigers. 2 teams ahead of them in the division.
Yep.
Auburn took the series from Arkansas. Huge for them to stay in competition in the West, and also bringing Arkansas down a peg. So now they are within striking distance of the Aggies.
Yep.
Arky will be here to close out the year.
They will.
They just couldn't take the rubber match on Sunday. Lost the series. Anyways, Arkansas, they're not too worried. They only dropped 1 spot in the
Yeah, no, Arkansas is fine.
Yeah, they're fine. Those are 2 good teams.
Yes.
The top 4 of the SEC West is awesome.
It really
Mississippi
is.
State, Arkansas, Auburn, A&M, and then 5 is LSU.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely. No, the West is absolutely packed, and I think a lot of people are kind of wondering. They're looking at SEC teams, and I've heard comments like, "Oh, the SEC, they're not nearly as good at football anymore. They maybe are starting to trend downwards in baseball," and that's just not the case. Like
there was the idea that early on in the year, the SEC West wasn't the strongest division in the conference anymore.
Right, exactly.
And
I think that's just crazy.
True.
Yeah, no, I mean,
not true anymore. Everybody's proven them wrong.
Yeah, I mean, these series are formatted to where you have a winner of every single series, and so when you have the top teams within conference play each other, there are going to be really, really good teams like Arkansas that lose series. It happens. It's baseball, and so, give me the SEC, 7-8 times out of 10 against out-of-conference opponents.
True. Yeah, I will take that. I will agree with that. Our last series of the weekend, Missouri and Ole Miss. Ole Miss dropped the first game to the Tigers. Actually, that was not Tanner Houck who started that game.
No, was it Cole Bartlett?
His first start of the year, threw a complete game victory against the Rebs. And then Ole Miss won 3-1 against Houck, who's been a victim of low run support all year. We'll talk about him in a little bit.
Yep.
Then they won the rubber match on the series. On Sunday, Ole Miss got a huge win at home. They needed it. The Rebs are struggling. The Aggies will be there in 2 weeks, and they need to take care of those struggling Rebels.
Yes, we do.
But anyways, moving on. Rankings updates. These are always fun. TCU up a spot from 6 to 5. Kentucky up 4 spots after their series win against LSU from 10 to 6. They're awesome. Auburn also moving up 4 spots after their series win with Arky up to 7. Texas Tech down 3 spots to 8. Florida up 3 spots to 9. Mississippi State up 5 spots to 10. That is 4 SEC teams in the top 10, and that's 6 teams that the Aggies have played this year.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
Well,
you can't.
Never mind. Florida. They don't play Florida.
You're right.
5. They will play
5.
Mississippi State.
Yeah.
And then LSU at 13, dropping 4 spots after that series loss.
Yep.
Arkansas down only 1 spot to number 15. A&M up only 1 spot after losing that marathon game with Tennessee. I think the committees and all the pollsters didn't boost the Aggies very much because of the offense. We talked about that. Also, the loss to UTA. And then...
that didn't help.
Number 23, Houston staying put. Only team to note that dropped out was South Carolina. They were number 24. They're on the verge of dropping out. They're gone now. And I guess we should move into our preview.
Yep. Sounds good. Do you want to do pitching first?
I will, yeah. Anyways, Aggies traveling to Columbia, Missouri this weekend. The Missouri Tigers are 27-15 overall and a 8-10 conference in the SEC. They are just 14-9 at home. Missouri has lost their last 3 ball games.
Yeah.
Remember, they had that amazing 20-game win streak to begin the year that was snapped on March 24th by Arkansas. Since starting 20-1, because remember, they lost their first game of the year and then won their next 20.
Right.
Their first 21 games of the year, they went 20-1.
Right.
Their next 21 games of the year, they went 7-14.
Ouch.
That is not fun. They have not won a conference series at home yet. They are 2-7 at home in the SEC after losing series to both Arkansas, Kentucky, and then getting swept at home by Florida.
Yeah. It's not the pitching staff's fault. At least not their starting rotation's fault. Like you said, Tanner Houck has been a victim of low run support. I'm sure you're going to get into his stats here in a second, but you look at his record and his ERA is 3-6 with a 2.98 ERA. Like, he's not pitching poorly.
No,
he's just not getting the runs to back him up. Interesting side note, I've forgotten the name of their ballpark. It sits up on a hill.
Tiger Ballpark.
It sits up on a hill, and it's kind of in a weird location because the wind is almost always blowing out. It's like Globe Life Park back in Arlington where the wind is always pushing the balls over the fence. It's interesting to see that other teams, their offense hasn't taken advantage of their home field advantage, a hitter-friendly ballpark, that their offense is not that strong. But 2, that their starters are able to keep their ERAs down in such a hitter-friendly ballpark. I mean, you think about it, you get a ball up in the wind there, and you have a decent chance of it going out. And yet Cole Bartlett and Tanner Houck both have ERAs under 3. I mean, Bartlett just got his first start of the year, but still, he's
been out of the bullpen all year.
Yeah, really impressive starts. Yeah, absolutely. Tanner Houck's one of those, kind of once in a generation arms where he throws the ball really hard. If he can keep his command consistent, he's going to be a great player at the next level, and I think he'll go. He's a junior this year, right?
Yeah, so he's going to go this year. He'll be a top rounder.
Yeah, he'll definitely be, a first rounder, in my opinion. Maybe a second rounder, but I think a first rounder. He's a really, really live arm. But yeah, just kind of a weird thing there where it's kind of what we're seeing here in A&M, where we've got a very hitter-friendly ballpark. If you can put it in the gaps, your speed really helps you, and yet the Aggies' offense just has not been able to score runs. We are able to put it in the gap, not necessarily put it over the fence, but put it in the gap, and yet we're not able to get a ton of runs home and home.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
that's my take.
Definitely their offense is the issue. Their pitching staff is not the problem.
Yep.
Talking about pitching, it will give you your weekend probables. Remember, we're playing a doubleheader on Friday and then one on Sunday, taking Saturday off for the weather. First game on Friday is a 3 o'clock first pitch. Brigham Hill goes for the Aggies, 5-3 with a 2.92 ERA. Hasn't looked too bad. Remember, he was really good against Tennessee, just couldn't get the win because of a blown save by Mitchell Kilkenny. And he will be facing Cole Bartlett, who is 5-0 with a 2.39 ERA. For some reason, that record is a bit misleading because he's only started one game this year, and that was against Ole Miss last week. He's been a guy out of the bullpen. He's been very effective out of the bullpen, threw a complete game against Tennessee, and that's why the Tigers are going to go ahead and give him the nod on the first game on Friday instead of the usual ace, Houck. Second game on Friday, 6:30, Corbin Martin, who is 5-2 with a 3.40 ERA, will go for the Ags. And then, as we mentioned, Tanner Houck with his 3-6 subpar record with an amazing 2.98 ERA will go for the Tigers. That's your big game. That's your swing game this weekend. If the Aggies win that game, there's a very good chance that they could sweep Missouri. Then Sunday, the 1 o'clock first pitch between Stephen Kolick and Andy Tolkien. Kolick is 2-2 with a 3.92 ERA. Tolkien 2-2 with a 5.0 ERA. Or a 3.50 ERA.
I was about to say.
Sorry. My bad. I misspoke. As I mentioned, the second game on Friday, the swing game, the Aggies need to get to Houck early and get him out of the game. Although the bullpen is very good and they've got one of the better closers in the SEC and TJ Sakima, I'd rather take my chances with the bullpen instead of Houck.
Oh, yeah.
Considering that Tanner Houck is a preseason All-American and he's the number 1 2017 draft prospect according to Perfect Game in Baseball America coming into the year. He's been a victim of low run support, as we mentioned. That's why his his record's so bad. But honestly, the way he throws the ball and the way he racks up strikeout numbers, if he's on Friday night, the Aggies will strike out a ton, and the offense will be bad, and we will be mad.
No two ways about that. It's interesting looking at the stats for these two teams. We talked about how their both pitching staffs have really been a victim of low run support. Obviously more critical and in depth on the A&M side, but when you look at their statistics, Missouri's batting at a team average of 277. A&M's sitting at 280.
Yeah, they're very close in all respects. Slugging, A&M's 418, Missouri's 275 or 427.
I was like, ooh.
Runs scored. A&M's only scored two more runs all year. Home runs, Missouri's got an edge there, but really almost everybody does. Missouri has a big time edge in stolen bases. You're going to see a team
we just don't run.
You're going to see a team that likes to run.
I think statistically, aren't they one of the top teams in the country?
They lead the SEC. I'm not sure about the country, but they lead the SEC in stolen bases.
Yeah, they love to run on the base paths. ERA, teams are one tick apart.
Exactly.
3.37.
And then averages against are really close too. So,
yeah.
I mean, these are two teams that stack up really nicely, like really evenly.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's because Missouri played weaker competition. I don't know. You can't really say they've played weaker competition when they've been playing inside the SEC all year.
Right.
And we're halfway through.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to make that assumption about Mizzou. Anyways, people to watch for. We already mentioned Tanner Houck. We won't talk about him anymore. Number 36, Cole Bartlett, redshirt junior, making the start on Friday in the first game. As we said, typically bullpen arm, been really good out of the bullpen. But they're going to ride the hot hand because he threw a complete game victory against Ole Miss in his first start last week.
Yep.
And then another guy I want to, because we got to talk about their offense for some reason, is number 5, Brett Bond, junior catcher and infielder, batting .306 with 33 RBIs and 8 homers. If you're looking for a Tiger that could kickstart the offense and get things going for the Tigers, it's this guy right here. If he runs into one or two, the Aggies are in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we can keep him off the base paths and out of the home run column this weekend.
Yep.
And then their bullpen's really good. That's
yes.
the thing you got to mention. They've got probably one of the better closers in the game, and Sakima 6-0 with a 1.84 ERA and 4 saves so far on the year. And then Ryan Lee, who is 0 for 0, has 0 wins and 0 losses in 11 appearances, has a 2.87 ERA. Those two guys will anchor a unit that is usually anchored by Bartlett. He's going to get the start, so I highly doubt we'll see him.
Mm-hmm.
Then for the Aggies, Braden Shoemake. He's still really good.
He's Braden Shoemake.
Braden Shoemake doing good things. Cole Bedford, he's been really good, up to 330 as far as his average goes. And we talked about Chafin and Sherrod. Chafin is 5-1 with a 2.25 ERA. Could get some work on Friday with the doubleheader. Mm-hmm. And the good thing for Chafin is the day on Saturday is an off day, and that gives him an opportunity to be fresh for Sunday.
Yes, absolutely.
As long as he doesn't throw too much on Friday. But anyways, bullpens kind of stack up nicely as well. Everything about this series is pretty even.
Yeah, they're two very similar ball clubs. The only difference is A&M has found ways to win ball games and Missouri's found more ways to lose them. So very interesting to watch.
Hopefully the roles do not reverse this week.
Yeah, that'd be great if we could just keep things the way it is.
Elsewhere around the SEC, Ole Miss at number 15 Arkansas. That's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday series. Number 13, LSU will travel to Tuscaloosa to face the Crimson Tide. Another Thursday, Friday, Saturday series. Number 9, Georgia will travel to Athens. Number 9, Florida will travel to Athens.
I was going to say, what?
Yeah, they're going to travel to their own hometown. My bad. That's your Friday, Saturday, Sunday series. None of those games are on TV. Number 6, Kentucky traveling to face the unranked, South Carolina Gamecocks. another Friday, Saturday, Sunday series. Then the Battle of Tennessee, UT and Vandy, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Sunday's game at 4 o'clock is on the SEC Network. And then the other, for me, A&M is the biggest series of the weekend, no matter who we're playing. The biggest series inside the SEC, number 7 Auburn at number 10 Mississippi State. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Saturday and Sunday, both on SEC Network. 7 o'clock on Saturday, 12 noon on Sunday. The Aggies really need Auburn to win this series.
Yes. I was about to ask you, who would you rather have win this series? And I think, Auburn's the obvious answer.
Really need Auburn to win that series because if the Aggies sweep, they will be tied with Auburn in the division. If Auburn takes 2 of 3 from Mississippi State, Mississippi State will be brought down a game. 2 games for the Aggies. The Aggies will only be a game behind them, and then 2 games behind. I guess they would be tied with, assuming Arkansas takes 2 of 3. Anyways, that's scenarios are too high.
It's jumbled.
It would be huge for Auburn to take that series because the Aggies hold the tiebreaker over the Tigers.
Yeah.
They just need to be tied with Auburn at the end of the year, and they win the division. So, anyways, that's what we've got going on as far as baseball this weekend inside the SEC. The Aggies. Do you have a player of the week?
I think, I was thinking about it a little bit earlier. I think if I had to pick a player of the week, it's got to be Corbin Martin. I've been really, really critical of him all season long. Even the last show that we did together, I told it how it was. He has underperformed this year coming out of his performance at the Cape Cod League, and I think his draft stock has sunk like a rock. But at the same time, we needed that series win against Tennessee. He came out, he gave up 1 run in 8 solid innings. He's my player of the week. Great job, Corbin.
I like your pick. I didn't really have a pick, so I guess my pick's going to be Myles Garrett because he was the number 1 pick. Sorry I'm mixing football and baseball here, but that's pretty big. Also, I liked the Jared Davis pick, so
there you go.
The Detroit Lions. Anyways, I don't have a player of the week, but that's all I got, man. Aggies need to win this series. Yep. They've got to win their last 4 series, and they can win the division. Let's make it happen, gentlemen.
Yeah,
I'm hyped.
It's, you see this a lot of times going into playoffs for any sport, really, but, baseball especially. The hot team usually prevails in the playoffs, in tournament play, in playoffs, whatever you have, and, this would be a great start. We've won the last 2 series impressively in that we've taken care of teams that we needed to take care of. We're coming off the Auburn series win as well. Yeah, if the Aggies can just continue to play good ball, just take 2 out of 3 going forward, we're sitting in a pretty good spot. And even if we don't win the division, we'll be dangerous come the tournament if we can get on that hot streak. And then come the big dance in June. We'll see what happens.
See where they go. I mean, there's been a lot of talk that the Aggies will get sent to Corvallis. If I'm Oregon State, I don't want to see Texas A&M there.
If I'm Texas A&M, I don't want to see Oregon State.
I don't want to see Oregon. Obviously, but if I'm Oregon State, I'm the number 1 overall seed. I want a weaker number 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, and if I'm A&M, no thank you. Hard pass.
Well, and that just whatever gets us out of the stupid Fort Worth Regional. I really would like to avoid playing TCU. I know, I want revenge on the Horned Frogs. Nothing would make me happier than to kick them out of a super regional. Finally.
You gotta play the best to be the best, Mitchell.
But I understand that. But
you gotta play the best to be the best, Mitchell.
I would rather run into TCU in Omaha than have them block us from Omaha again 3 years in a row.
We'll see.
We'll see.
There's a lot that can happen between now and then.
Absolutely.
But one thing's for sure, it's going to be an exciting finish.
It will. I mean, the Aggies just need to continue to take care of business.
They've put themselves in that position, and it's going to be an exciting finish. So I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty happy.
Anyway, that'll about do it for us. From Richard Zane, Mitch Mason, thank you so much for spending part of your afternoon with us. We will be back this time, maybe even a day earlier next week.
Dead week!
To talk more Aggie baseball with you. Until then, y'all have a good week.